You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio, man. We are here once again, and man, we are here bright and early in the morning talking to a good friend of the show, Mr. Jerome Surles. He is someone that is really special, doing something very important today on this morning. And we're going to talk about what he's been going through recently. And he's been on the show once again, like I said, but we're going to have him open up and kind of give us an update what's been going on in his life. So first and foremost, Jerome, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thank you, bro. I'm doing good. Blessed. You know what I mean? Blessed. In spite of everything, I'm still here.
So, man, we had you on at the barbershop, man. Doesn't even feel like it's been years ago, but you had the amazing Pure Juice doing your thing, and that stuff was so good. And recently, man, you've been going through some things, but you've been very positive about it. You've been very strong about it. And it's very inspirational to watch behind the scenes. Not behind the scenes, I should say, but on the outside looking in. You keeping that positive mindset, and you're still making resources for people to be educated on this topic. So I want you to introduce it and tell the audience what you've been going through and unpack it for us.
Sure, thanks, Amaya. So, essentially, back at about 10 years ago, at my 40-year checkup, I was diagnosed then with stage 2 renal disease. Now, that's a big thing to say, but they figured out that it was because of high blood pressure. Now, I've been an athlete, ex-military, all that kind of good stuff all my life, so I've always been categorized as having borderline pressure, but I was extremely active as well. So I guess that, kind of set everything in set. But over the last few years, we've been managing that situation through blood pressure meds and some diet stuff, right? But back in April, I had an episode where I was at my brother-in-law's wedding, and I ended up passing out in the bathroom. Real quick, just kind of got lightheaded, woozy, hit the ground. When I actually hit the ground on my knees, that tilted me back. I sat there for a second, gathered myself, and went and sat down. Family came and checked it out, and I was like, okay, I'm good. Yeah, I'll go back to the wedding. We got through everything, and the next day I went to the doctor, to see what's going on. And when I got there, after waiting in the waiting room forever, like most hospitals are, when they finally did some tests, the guy goes, hey, Mr. Surles, we got to take blood from your other arm. We got to run another test. I'm thinking to myself, this is the first time I've been here. They're going to tell me about the kidney stuff, which I already know about. Not a big deal. Yeah, no problem here. Go ahead. Comes back about 15 minutes later. The doctor comes in and, real solemnly says, hey, call your wife. So anytime a doctor says that kind of stuff, you kind of go on alert. But since he told me that I was in what's called ESRD, or end-stage renal disease. Essentially, my kidneys were stopping, they were losing their function as we speak. They were failing. And so I ended up in the hospital that night. I ended up getting a catheter put in my chest for dialysis, and I went through dialysis while I was there at the hospital. I was there from Monday through Thursday evening, and they ran me through dialysis, put me on some meds, and then got me set up with a dialysis clinic, and then told me the process for getting on the kidney transplant list. So long story short, I'm in need of a kidney transplant. What's amazing about this is that, through God's favor, we actually have a living donor. For some reason, I wasn't worried. There's been some moments of question, but for the most part, especially in the beginning, I wasn't worried about any of it. And that's when you were saying, showing the strength and the inspiration, something in me said, hey, put this out there. So I jumped on Facebook and just kind of started, telling people what was going on. And, Facebook is a cool way to communicate with a bunch of different people, as opposed to making 50,000 phone calls. Hey, let me get on Facebook. Let me tag these people. Boom, here you go. And then other people started checking it out. And from that very first post that I put on Facebook, the very first live that I did, I got someone that hit me in my DMs and said, hey, I'd like to be a donor. Now, I had several other people also volunteer to be donors, praise God. I think I got up to like 7 or 8 possible folks that wanted to be donors, including a guy that I went to junior high and high school with, me and an old friend. And so the support was overwhelming, and so I just kind of kept doing it. And as I'm going through the process of dialysis, trying to get onto the transplant list itself, which is a process, I started learning things. And some of these things were absolutely amazing to me. Like, for example, in this country, every year there's about 99,000 people in need of kidney transplants in this country. But out of that, only about 24,000, and forget it. So about 25% of the people in this country that need kidney transplants actually get a kidney transplant. And most of those people wait anywhere from 5 to 7 years to actually get a transplant. And what that means is, they're going to dialysis 3 times a week. A lot of times they end up really, really frail, really, really fragile, losing their energy, because dialysis takes quite a bit out of you. One of the other things I learned while in dialysis is that literally while you're hooked up to those machines, your blood is filtered something like 100 times or so, right? And so because the average human being the average man has about 8 pints of blood in 8 liters of blood, 8 liters of blood. And that machine, 10 times, that machine actually filters through about 80 liters of fluid. And so part of what they're doing is pulling waste and stuff out, because obviously your filtration system isn't working the way that it should. So they're pulling that stuff out, but they're also cleaning the blood and making sure, that everything is good. And then they're adding things back in that you're missing. Most people that end up on dialysis also suffer from anemia. I became anemic as a part of it. My blood cell count was very low. And so they would give me things to build my blood cell count back up. And thus, that's where a lot of people are wiped out from dialysis, because they end up being anemic. Well, for me in my situation, my anemia is gone. My blood count is back up. And so I'm in a much better position than most. But so many folks, man, like I said, almost 100,000 people in this country need transplants every year, and only about a quarter of that, 25%, actually get a transplant, and that's after waiting and dealing with this for anywhere from 5 to 7 years. So it's a very, very significant life-changing event. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. And once again, listen, I'm Focus Radio, talking to Jerome Surles, and you, out of this situation, you became a member of the National Transplant Foundation. Mm-hmm. And now you're using this platform, not just like this episode to educate people, but you're using that platform to also reach even more people and speaking and helping people understand about this silent killer, which is very important for people to be aware of. What's some of the key things that you learned so far being part of this membership of the National Transplant Foundation?
Well, there's a couple of things. The biggest thing right now, honestly, man, is we need more donors. That's the bottom line. If you're not an organ donor, you should really, really reconsider becoming an organ donor. Like, when you die, you can't use them anymore, right? All jokes aside, but we really need to have more donors. And that's not just for kidneys. Kidneys are by far the largest organ transplant number that there is. You have your livers and your heart and those other things. Those numbers are significantly lower compared to kidneys. But that's the bottom line, man. We need more people to become donors, consider becoming donors. And I'll send you a link that you can put on your site, please. That also gives people an opportunity to sign up to become donors. That's the biggest challenge right now because, again, only about 25% of the people in need of kidneys in this country get them annually, right? So if we had just a few more people willing to be a donor, that number would greatly increase. The other thing, man, is financial. And I hate to say that, but it really is because a lot of times, because of your commitment that you have to do to live, in terms of going to dialysis, it affects the work, right? It affects how you're able to earn money and take care of yourself. That's part of the reason why I joined the National Transplant Foundation, because it's also a site where people can donate to help out costs. The average kidney transplant costs around $442,000, right? Now, we know even with the great success of the Affordable Care Act and more and more people having access to insurance who didn't have it before, just imagine if you didn't have insurance and you needed a transplant and $440,000 worth of bills showed up at their home, right? Game over, right? Now that puts most people completely out of the running. Now, your insurance is going to cover, in most cases, about 80% of those costs, right? But if you do the math, which is really simple, that still leaves a significant number that the transplant recipient is responsible for. That's covering, and that's just the transplant surgery itself. That's not the ongoing medications and doctor's appointments that you have to do after the transplant. Once you receive a transplant, for the rest of your life, for the rest of my life, I will be taking anti-rejection medication, right? Right after the transplant, I have to go see my doctor pretty much every week for about the first 6 months. Then it goes down to every 2 weeks, and then, it's stretched out a little bit after that. But I'm dealing with a doctor for, pretty much the rest of my life at that point. And on medication for the rest of my life at that point. There's nothing I can do about that. You know what I'm saying? So the financial part of it is a huge, huge burden for individuals and families that have to go through something like this. Again, having insurance is a godsend, but at the same token, most insurance is only going to cover about 80, maybe 85% of that total cost, which still leaves an extremely large number. So donate. Consider donating your organs, consider donating your time, and definitely consider donating some of your coins. I was talking to my pastor just yesterday, and he said, whenever people go through stuff, right, folks will always say, hey, man, I'm praying for you. Hey, ma'am, I'm praying for you. Right? And that's great, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Send on the prayer. But somebody's also got to be the answer to that prayer. You know what I'm saying? There also has to be an answer to that prayer. And what we don't realize is that sometimes we're the answer to that prayer. $5, $10, just telling someone, hey, I will go through this training to see if I'm a candidate to give you one of my organs, a kidney in this case, is just phenomenal in terms of the things that it does for your mental, your spiritual, your physical. But people don't realize that it doesn't take that much, right? But the key is donate. Educate yourselves, donate. And the third thing, especially for us Black men, get your behind to the doctor.
Yeah.
Go get your checkup, man. I'm a country boy from North Carolina, right? And so for me, I'm a real country boy. I have a natural, distaste for doctors and whatnot, although they're saving my life right now, and extending my life. But I've come to the point where I understand the importance of it. You only get one body. I can't take this thing down to gun, and trade it in for, the 2022 model. That ain't happening, but you only get one body in this life, and you got to take care of it. And just like you take your car for regular checkups, you got to take your body for regular checkups. And especially to us Black men, we got to get over those stigmas. We need to go get checked. We need to get in touch with, our doctors, our primary care physicians, and build a relationship with those folks, because they can be the difference between life and death.
And you have a couple places people can go donate. You have a community thrives.mightycause.com/story kidney for Jerome. You have that place where it kind of tells your story and people can donate there. They also can go to your personal GoFundMe and donate there as well. When people are learning about this, because no one can really understand this unless they have a family or a friend who actually is going through it. You kind of touched on that. But what's some of the things that people have to be aware of that they may not be when they're just like, oh, I'll make a donation? But what's some of the other things they should also realize? The pressure that you're going through to your day-to-day routine, because all that has changed now. Explain that to the audience, how your day-to-day routine has significantly changed.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that you may notice is that my voice is a little bit scratchy right now. And that is a side effect of going to dialysis because of the fluid transfer. Normally, when I get done with dialysis, it's much worse than this for, the evening and sometimes into the next day. So for me, as you know, I'm musically inclined. I like to sing. But that puts a strain on my body. And so I haven't been able to participate in my church's praise team for several months because I don't know what's going to happen when I open my mouth and start singing because of it. Right? Now, that's a minor thing, right? But again, as far as the day-to-day, one of the biggest things is you got to go to dialysis 3 times a week, right? And you're typically there for about 5 hours. Your treatment is anywhere from 3.5 to about 4 hours, depending upon the situation and circumstances. But you get there about 30 minutes early, and then getting off, so they can get you set up and get you in your chair and all that kind of stuff. And then afterwards, it's about 15, 20 minutes to get out of there. So you give up 5 hours of your day 3 times a week. Now, until you're in that position, it doesn't seem like a ton, but it truly is. Again, it affects your work life. It affects your family life. It affects your mental and your spiritual and your physical as well. I've been blessed with, incredible tenacity. And that's just me, but there's so many folks that, really just need a phone call from you, right? That need an uplifting moment. If you know somebody that's going through some of this stuff, just go up at their home and go take them out to lunch or something like that. Spend some time with them, right? Because the thing that we don't realize that we have that's totally free, but is the most valuable thing is time. Spending time with someone is more valuable than anything else, right? So like I said, the biggest challenges that we go through is the challenges in fitting dialysis into your life until you can get to a transplant. Again, I'm blessed in that I have a living donor, and literally I got to go through a procedure first, but I'm literally looking at getting my transplant done probably in late September.
Oh, that's good news.
That's about 5 months in this situation for me. But there's so many others that are 3, 5, 7, 8, 20 years on dialysis. Then there's the other side of it where when you hit a certain age, right, your candidacy for a transplant goes way down, right? There are some people that are on dialysis that won't be able to get a transplant because of how valuable the organs are. It's a huge checklist that they go through and match you to a donor. And so the mental stress of having to deal with the fact that, hey, I'm going to have to come in here 3 times a week for the rest of my life and sit on this machine, right? I'm going to be tired and be worn out. That's taxing on a person. So, probably the biggest thing outside of actually donating is the mental and spiritual stress. And that's why I say, spend some time with some folks. Go volunteer at some of these dialysis centers. They have advocacy roles that people can get into where you can literally come in and they train you and you get to spend time with folks that are going through this. You'd be surprised at what a difference that can make in someone's day, man.
Once again, listen, I'm Focus Radio talking to Jerome Surles, and this is Man, a very important topic. And I'm glad that we are taking time to explore this and educate the audience, because this, I can't imagine how heavy this is, not just on you, but the people that are around you, your family. What are some of the things that is a reality check with your family as well, being a part of this with you?
Well, first and foremost, man, it's our faith and belief in God. All right. So, excuse me. My wife and I got an opportunity to sneak off to a movie 2-3 weeks ago. I forget when it was. On a Friday afternoon. Right? The kids were gone with grandparents or something. Just time freed up, and we snuck off to a movie. And right before the movie started, I turned and looked at her and I said, "Hey, Billy, did you think that I would be, on the transplant list this quickly and have a living donor this quickly?" And her response back to me without any hesitation whatsoever was, "Yeah, God's got it. I'm not worried about it." All calm, no, straight, no chaser. You know what I'm saying? And that really, really helped me a lot, more than she even realizes, because as a man, as a spiritual head of your house, you're always worried about, how these things affect the family, right? How the kids are taking it, how your relatives are taking it, your sisters, your brothers, your in-laws, right? And especially how your spouse is dealing with it, right? Because that's your partner. And the fact that she has thrown everything thrown everything, all of her cares about this over to God, and is very, very strong about it is super encouraging for me, right? And so that's part of what keeps me going every single day. Yes, it can wear on the family, especially when I have to go out the door for treatment and the little guy's running up to me saying, "Daddy, I don't want you to go. I want you to stay here with me." You miss out on a lot of different things. But again, it goes back to our belief and faith and trust in God that He's going to deliver us through this. And more importantly, that this is a test, this is a setup for somebody else. This isn't even about me at this point. And that's one of those things that I realized going through this. This is not about me. I'm not going through this for me. I'm going through this for somebody else. There's one person somewhere that it's my job now to touch in some kind of way, right? And this is a mission that God has placed on my heart, on my family. So again, for us, man, all about our faith and belief and trust in God. He's the head of this household. He's the head of my life. He's the head of my life, my children's lives. Praise God for that. And He's definitely making a way. That's how we roll with it, man.
And with that, maintaining that positive outlook on life, I'm sure that causes more energy to build up for you to continue to use the platform to inspire people.
Absolutely.
Because me hearing this is inspiring, because you could be a sad person and I could be almost crying right now, but you're full of just peace, if I can put it in words. And that's very powerful, especially with the circumstances that you're facing, to continue to push through life without basically staying down on yourself. That if someone's listening right now and they might be going through what you're going through, you're the only one that can actually say some powerful words to them, because you're going through it yourself. What would you tell that person to encourage them to keep fighting?
So as a man thinketh, a man doeth, right? And that's super, super key in this and anything that you're going through. There's also a saying that says, it's always darkest before the dawn. You know what I'm saying? It's roughest, right before the breakthrough, right? And so that's all what I keep telling myself. And that's what I want to encourage people to do. First and foremost, if you don't have a relationship with God, let's get after that. It's super, super easy. And He's waiting on you to accept it, right? Now, please understand, that doesn't mean that you become a square, right? That it's gonna have some changes in your life, but trust me, they're all good. They're definitely good. But that's the first thing, man. Get that relationship with God. That's number one, first and foremost, out the gate. The second thing is wake up every day and look at it for the blessing that it is, right? Someone once said that we tend to take for granted the unknown blessing. And what he meant by unknown is that are the things that we just kind of do without really thinking about it. So think about this for a second. You get up in the morning, you get dressed, you head off to work. At the end of the day, you're coming home from work. Just something like that. And looking at it for what it is, a blessing, looking at the things that we take for granted, and understanding the blessings that they are, right? That's one of those other things that can keep you going and keep you more positively focused. The fact that, excuse me, in my particular case, man, I haven't worked since May, and the company I was just let me go because of this. That's a whole other story. But yet, we've been able to take care and maintain, you know what I'm saying? We haven't missed a meal or missed a bill. You know what I mean? And that's all because of God. That has nothing to do with me or anything that I did or didn't do. That's all the God. He takes care of all of those things, right? But understanding and recognizing the blessings that you have and the blessings that you are. And that's the third thing. Realizing that you yourself are a blessing to someone else. You are a blessing in someone's life, whether you realize it or not, right? That time that you decided to give the homeless guy in the corner $1, you were a blessing to that person. The time that you comforted someone at work for whatever was going on, you were a blessing to that person. And so if we understand that we ourselves are a blessing, if we stop and take a moment and really look at all of the little things that surround us, you know, I mean, literally, dude, admiring God's creation in the grass, you know, even little things like that, and understanding just how wonderfully, marvelously things are made and things are done, and the fact that our Creator put all this here for us, and then allowed you another opportunity, another second to actually realize and recognize the artistry of His work. Man, that you can't help but be positive if you can get yourself to that space. So, man, put your faith in God, get that relationship with God going on, right? Look around and recognize the small everyday blessings that we tend to take for granted, and then realize that you are a blessing to someone. That's it, man.
We've been talking to Jerome Surles and his amazing story that I hope one person can take it as inspiration. And if you are listening to this right now and you know someone that's going through a similar situation, share this with them. And better yet, make a donation. I'm going to have the links in the description. I'm going to have a banner on the homepage on the website. I made that executive decision right now at this moment because we're going to push this heavy, and we're going to make sure that people can see this and that is in front of everyone's face. Because sometimes I had someone on the show talk about blind spots, and they said we don't always realize the blind spots that we have in our life until someone points them out. So I'm glad you point this blind spot out for everyone who is fortunate enough to hear this episode. And I not only wish you the best, I'm happy that you have good news about later this year. You mentioned September being possible opportunity for, you mentioned a match for the donor. You're going to have a procedure in September.
Well, that's what it's looking like. Because I have a living donor, they actually wanted to try to get it done in August. I had to go through some testing, and my donor had to go through some final testing. With my testing, they did find a small lesion on one of my current kidneys, because one of those other things that I learned through this process is that when you get a kidney transplant, typically they don't take your current kidneys out. They just add a third kidney. Crazy. So, you can walk around with 3 kidneys. But one of my current kidneys has a lesion on it. And they think that it could be cancerous. So they're going to do a partial nephrectomy, cut that part out, and allow my body time to heal and then do the transplant. That way it minimizes any issues down the road with the transplant itself. So wherein we were looking at doing the transplant in August, because they found that we're going to do that procedure here sometime in the next week or so, and then give my body time to heal, which is why I say the actual transplant will probably be sometime in late September.
Gotcha. Well, once again, I'm sure everyone that is around you, they're going to be cheering you on. And I mean, like I said, just hearing you talk with this very positive mindset is very inspirational. It makes me think about things I take for granted in my own life. And I think that's another message that people hopefully will take away from this interview, is that it's time to reflect and look at your whole life and start to appreciate every little thing, because all of it can be taken away instantly. So, man, I want to say thank you for taking time. Even though you're going through what you're going through, you took time to give this message to people that is really needed. And I'll give you the last words. What you want to tell our listeners before we go?
First, I just want to say thank you to you for allowing me to come on and share this information, man. You've always been super, super good to us and allowing us to share your platform. So we thank you for that. Secondly, just want to really try and encourage folks today. Number one, get those checkups, especially as a Black man. Get over it, get onto the doctor and get those checkups done, and then follow the doctor's instructions, right? 2, stop and smell the flowers, right? You only get one chance at this life. Enjoy the little things. Don't take things for granted, right? Try and find the beauty in all of the small things around you, things that we take for granted. And thirdly, and most importantly, if you don't have a relationship with God, now's the time to get to know Him. Develop a relationship for yourself, right? The Bible says, read and show yourself approved. People think that you always got to run behind this preacher and that preacher, and it's good to have a fellowship. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything about that, because people are people. But the relationship has to be developed with God. You join a church, you join a congregation for that fellowship, so that you have somewhere to go and share your questions and get your questions answered, and you have someone that's going to be teaching you some things specifically, about the Word of God, but you got to spend that time yourself. If you want to understand what He's saying and what He's thinking, you got to get into His Word. To work on that relationship with Him. That's going to be the best thing you've ever done in your life. And finally, donate. Everybody, and it's not just about me. It's about people as a whole. Consider donating organs. Consider donating your time. Consider donating some of your finances. We appreciate you. We love you, bro. Thank you.
Once again, talking to Jerome Surles and listen to Refocus Radio. I hope somebody out there who listens will not just do what he just illustrated for you to do. Donate your time, donate your money, donate your own part of your body, because there's so many people out there who are suffering. And this is a very powerful, unique story of someone, man, I'll say you beating the odds right now. You really beating the odds. And I hope people can listen to that as a source of hope that, what, I can fight another day. I just have to focus on now. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Just worry about what can I do at this very moment. So you listen to this, I'm going to put both the links in the description. It's going to be on the banner on the homepage. I'm going to make one. You have no excuses. I'm telling you to take the time to change a life. It don't matter how small the donation is. Just do something that's on your heart. I'm going to do it myself. We're all going to do it, and we're going to do it together. We're going to keep helping spread this message, because I think it's important. I might even have you on again later, when the time is right for you to give us some updates, and also do another campaign of pushing people to take action, because I think this is awesome. So once again, thank you, Jerome Surles, taking time talking to us today, man.
No, thank you, man. And I will gladly and consider it a blessing to come back and speak anytime, especially on this, my brother. You got it. You just tell me when and I'm there.
I Am Refocused Radio is brought to you by Foo 4 Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4 Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.